talked to the reporters who've been covering the campaign. I guess in terms of now, your expectations, what you expect from the candidates in this, as they deal with some of the issues that you study.
Yeah. Well, one thing I expect from the candidates now is they'll be better. Because having gone through the first one, it's new to everyone to have gone through a nationally televised, really high profile debate that's live. It was clear that they were nervous going in, all of them, across the board. They were kind of nervous. They eased into it eventually. So now I think not only will the candidates themselves be more prepared, but their teams would have prepped them a little more, and they will have had a better idea of what they're preparing for. Although the format is different, people could see that they didn't quite have the amount of time they thought they would have, so they were rushing through answers. And now I'm hoping that they would have practiced a little more in terms of how much you can really fit into a minute and a half, how much can you really fit in 30 seconds, because the language is Filipino. It's very difficult to jam a lot of content into a minute and a half because it takes a lot more syllables to say the same thing in Filipino than in English. That's why it's all very rushed. So 90 seconds would work in English. You can cover a lot, but in Filipino, you can't really cover a lot. So I'm hoping people are going to be a little more relaxed. When people are more relaxed, you get more substantive, focused answers.
Right.
Yes.
I'm going to throw the question I threw to our adjudicators, which is they have to appeal to so many different audiences. And A, B, C, 1, C, 2 are interested, let's say, in the issues, right? We want answers to specific things, but the bulk of the voters are not. How would you, if you were a candidate, how would you deal with this?
First, I wouldn't make the assumption that the bulk of the voters are not.
Fantastic.
I think one of the things that really personally bothers me about how we discuss voters is all of the language that sort of attacks the masses for not being rational about who they're voting for. Everybody's rational. They just have different reasons for why they're voting for certain candidates. When we say, for example, that a candidate is popular because he's a personality, and people are talking about certain candidates because they're personalities, they like personalities, I prefer to think about it as character. You know, they're really talking about character. Is this a person I can trust? Is this a person that I think will protect my interests as somebody who is poor with a unique set of circumstances and constraints? Is this person going to be thinking about what I need? Right? So that's not necessarily in the really, to me, offensive language of bobotante.
Yes.
There is nothing productive to insulting the mass of voters.
Yes.
We don't get anything from it.
Exactly.
So what we want is to, I think, even the candidates should acknowledge that everybody's interested in the issues. Because the more we assume that the masses are not interested in the issues, the less likely the candidates are going to be talking about the issues.
Right.
Right? So it's just a cycle.
Campaign managers, that's the way they talk.
Yes.
You think that they're
Campaign
going to stick to the
managers
old
and media.
and me?
Yes.
Guilty. Let me ask you about something Patricia said, which is anger. The anger that is there. Do you see that anger, and where does it come from?
Yes. The anger is palpable. The anger is much more public now than before because we have social media. People are behind their computers. They can attack others. I mean, this is not behavior that's unique to the Philippines. This is behavior that we see everywhere. It's true in the United States. It's true in the campaign now in the primaries in the United States. There's a lot of trolling. There's a lot of sexism and just
really
harassment.
like violent,
yes,
right?
Really violent. So it's not something that's just true here in the Philippines. It's true in a lot of places. Being on social media unlocks at some level an ability to say whatever they want because they're hiding behind the screen.
Yes.
Right? So I'm not sure that it's new. I'm not sure that this anger is new. It's just that we see it a little more.
And yes.
And maybe it feeds on itself.
Does the fragmentation lead to that, or the tech? I guess is the technology fueling this, or?
It's the technology, but it's the social nature of it.
Okay.
Right. So if you're around a lot of people, it's like mob mentality, right? It's a mob.
Yes.
You get sucked into it, and if you're around a lot of people who are angry, and hearing them express anger, it makes you angry.
Well, we see
So
from
you
our
get-
mood meter, the emotion that spreads fastest is anger.
Yes, yes. That's an emotional response. It's emotional contagion. So, because it's all social, you have this venue where it can just spread really quickly. And because on top of that, we have these silos, you have people who are together angry. It makes them even more angry. So it's a little difficult to break that cycle, to bring it back to more calm discussion. But I think media is in a particularly important position to bring it back to talking about the issues. Emotions are not necessarily bad,
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't cloud reason.
How do you stop a mob?
How do you stop a mob?
Yeah, because oftentimes on social
Yes.
media, right? That's what
Yes,
we
the
deal
UPLB
with.
student.
Yeah, I'm sure the
to deal
candidates
with
will
it.
want to know your answer on that one.
Well, first it's important that the candidates really address their supporters, and I think to some extent Duterte did that eventually.
Yes.
But it's very hard to control, and one thing we need to focus on is also to prevent it.
Yes.
Right? Is to know what kinds of things we need to avoid, to know what kinds of things we need to watch out for so that we can control it. There should be, we can think about creative technological ways to try to control it. If you need to take down a story that's creating a mob, then maybe that's something that needs to be discussed. These are completely new issues in media, in new technology. These are completely new. You've never had to deal with it before. So all of it is something that we just need to figure out answers to.
Fantastic.